Golden Ticket Awards. Love them or hate them, they're one of the main things the industry turns to as kind of a survey on best new rides, top coasters, new water rides, best theme rides, a bunch of stuff. Well, it's me, Hyde, and I got the chance to vote this year, and I figured I'm going to take you through the voting process, show you what it's like to vote, show you all the different categories, how it looks to vote, and then give you plenty of chances to make fun of me for my opinions. I mean, that's what YouTube is for, right? Telling everyone how wrong they are in the comments. So I should preface this kind of like all the podcasts are. These are my views only. So when you're looking to rip In the Loop apart for this one, just blame me because we all know Drew's number one will always be Magnum, even though that's the very wrong answer. So let's dive in and take a look at the survey here. But first, let me address probably the question everyone usually asks me about the golden tickets is how do I get to vote? I've been lucky enough to go on a couple nerd coaster trips around the globe, Asia, Europe, Mexico, and I got to meet on those trips some of the folks that run the survey, and they invited me to join. Um, Most of the voters, they spread them out, try to spread them out across the country, so it's not regional bias. And they also try to look for people who do some of these trips and have traveled international to kind of give a different perspective. So, with that said, let's jump in. Let's look at the survey. All right off the bat, the big one, best park. I voted Cedar Point for many years and then Europa for the last few, but went back with Cedar Point here. Stuff like Melt and the festivals like beer festivals. I think they've just been doing a really good job of adding all these additional experiences to the park. And Steel Vengeance, come on. You got to give them credit there. All right, next up, water park. Not a huge water park guy, but really love Schlitterbahn, New Braunfels, the uniqueness, and I love all those tube rivers, tube chutes that just go on forever. So that gets my vote. Landscaping, I mean, this one's pretty easy too. I think pretty straightforward. Don't think many of you would argue. Williamsburg gets the vote here, though. Epcot Flower and Garden looks great. Silver Dollar City looks great, and Gilroy Gardens. That's a pretty interesting park there. So runners up there in my opinion. Best children's park design for kids, and now with this one, I mean, all of Legolands are just fantastic parks overall. Haven't been to Sesame Street, but heard really good things about that place. Especially, hey, they added great kids ride. But Legoland Windsor really stuck out. Went to that one and had a lot better time there, just the atmosphere than some of the other ones. But they're all pretty good. Shows, I'm not a huge show guy, so this one's a little bit more difficult for me. I generally use shows as a way to catch some break from the AC and usually maybe fall asleep. Don't judge. But I think when you look at this, I didn't want to answer it just because I couldn't give it a good answer. So Marine Life Park, Discovery Cove. If you have never been, the hype is real. It is an unbelievable experience. Seaside Park. This is another close one, guys. A lot of really good parks here. Love Boardwalk Bullet, but at the end of the day, Santa Cruz wins it for me. I love those old timey theme parks. And hey, catch the brass ring. Friendly Park. I mean, to me, this one's another really hard one to pick. I think Disney obviously does a really great job here. A lot of the smaller parks do a good job as well, so it's kind of a toss-up. But always really loved the staff at Dollywood, friendly and kind of authentic, not overly fake or anything. And here's another one that's a toss-up for me. I don't really think of many theme parks as being dirty. I mean, I've been to some that are pretty bad, but overall, I think most parks do a pretty good job of keeping it clean. So really kind of hard for me to distinguish here which one might be a little bit better than the others. But at the end of the day, I'm going to give it to Epcot. The amount of people they push through that place with food and wine and all that stuff, it stays pretty clean, especially with all those people drinking and whatnot. Plus, I used to work in Disney custodial as a manager, so gotta give a shout out to my old friends there. Carousel, I love catching the brass ring. I think I wouldn't ride many carousels if it wasn't for the brass rings. So my vote here has to go with the carousel. And Santa Cruz, kind of on the water, old timey feel there. So Santa Cruz gets the vote for the carousel. Now, I'll be honest, I don't have kids, so I'm kind of going off of my experience as a kid and kind of what I see here. The survey does say, if you haven't been on a ride or haven't experienced it, try to vote from what you've seen and heard, and form opinion around that. A lot of parks do a really good kids area, but at the end of the day, I think the hype is real. Kings Island, I love the Snoopy characters. I think they do a really good job of having a lot of rides for kids. Best food, and this is a toss up, guys. I know everyone loves to go, cinnamon bread with Dollywood or Knoebels for all the cheap food, but Epcot, I mean, there's just so much good food. You can argue about the price, but price is there. But man, like that pizza in Italy, unbelievable. Some of the best pizza I've ever had. So that alone probably puts Epcot up at the top. Dark ride, easy for me. Love Tower of Terror. I still think, Spider Man, Harry Potter rides are really great rides and close runners up. But I think Twilight Zone here in Florida is just such a whole experience. Cue, theme, music, atmosphere, and for it to be a quasi original theme is pretty neat. I know it's based off Twilight Zone, but that's kind of just the basis of it. The whole hotel story is really cool. I'm not a big water ride guy, so one's kind of a little tricky for me here. But I think at the end of the day, when you look at all these flume rides, there's a lot of great ones. Love Jurassic Park River Adventure. The Fantasia Land ride looks great, but to me, Splash Mountain. I mean, it's super long, inside outside, just great overall theme. Interacts with the park, going underneath the bridge there. That gets my vote. So again, with all the other water park comments, not a big water guy, but love Wildebeest as Splash and Safari. Mammoth is cool, but Wildebeest just awesome ride. Be sure to ride first thing in the morning because man, those lines get long, but really fun ride. And I'm not even a water park guy. Fun houses and walkthroughs. I mean, there's again so many good options here. I haven't been on all of them, but from what I've read up on some of the ones I haven't been on, for this one, I think again, it's a toss up. Ghost Ship is really cool at Maury's, but love me some Noah's Ark. I think that's just such a cool concept. And it's different too. Like, since how often do you see Noah themed stuff? So, got to give it the unique factor there. Mindbender gets my vote for indoor ride. I mean, that ride's just crazy. I know if you watched the review video on the channel, Legend and Drew didn't like it, but oh man, that ride is worth the trip up to Canada. I loved it. So, but hey, they didn't like it, so different opinions, right? All right, like water rides, I'm not a big Halloween guy, I know, but I can certainly appreciate what Universal's done. The few times I've been to Horror Nights, it is top tier Halloween event, so give it there. I do love me some Christmas. And I've been trying to go to more and more Christmas events. Went to Kings Island. Shout out for my crazy "It's Snowing at Kings Island" video on the channel from this past year. If you'd like to see what it looks like, Kings Island covered in snow. But at the end of the day, I mean, uh, Dollywood does a fantastic Christmas event. Need to get to Silver Dollar City. Heard really good things about that. But also just really like what the Disney parks do for Christmas. I think how they bring Christmas traditions in, the food, the experience, and Disneyland it's a magical park as it is. You add in Christmas, and it takes it to another level. I just really think Disney does a good job there. So best new attractions, like I said, they said if you haven't been on the rides, it kind of says at the top. If you haven't been on the rides, kind of learn about them, talk to people, watch videos on them, and try to make an informed opinion off that. So I had to do that a few places here. Sometimes I decide not to vote just because I had not heard enough about them. But on the best new rides, so let's kind of dive in here and take a look at the different categories. So for water ride, I have to go with that crazy Ferris wheel thing. It's super unique and just looks crazy. Anytime I look at something and go, wow, that's crazy, definitely get some points in my book. Really want to try that. New ride, new coaster, overall ride. I mean, I don't even explain myself here. If you haven't been on Steel Vengeance, you got to get there. All right, time for my favorite part. I'm not a huge fan of ranking rides because I love to go on rides and have fun. So, there's a lot of rides that I never even rank on here. Like Big Thunder Mountain's one of my favorite rides to ride. I wouldn't know where to rank it. So I just don't like to rank roller coasters. But for the case of this, I did a lot of hemming and hawing. I sat down beforehand to kind of give you some inside baseball here, and kind of came up with the list. Um, and I'll kind of plug it in. So if you're like, wow, he's making these decisions fast, I've already thought about it, but I'll kind of walk you through as I'm going through the list. So at the number one spot, I have to go lightning rod, quad down, crazy ride, night, unbelievable. Night's what sealed it. Two, El Toro. I love El Toro, which leads way to number three, Colossus at Hyde Park in Germany. Very, very similar to El Toro. It's kind of a toss up between which one I like more. Rye was closed. I know they're working to redo it, so hopefully that gets back open because that is a really, really great ride. And then Voyage. A lot of people say it's really rough. I've never had a bad ride on it. I really enjoy it. So for me, Voyage still gets that spot. I haven't got a night ride on it yet. So maybe once I get a night ride later this year, it'll bump up the list. All right, next up, Custom Coasters International Ride, Boulder Dash. Um, Really, really enjoyed this ride. Thought it was really cool, built into the mountains. That's one thing you'll probably notice with my list. I kind of like rides that are a little bit different and have like unique settings. Boulder Dash wins out there. And next ride, Gravity Group, one of the early Gravity Group rides in Ravine Flyers 2. This is another one. You kind of crest the hill, you see Lake Erie. It's just a really fun ride, great views, crossing the bridge, kind of a unique ride, and just have some really great rides on that over the years. And keeping with the CCI rides, got two more coming up on the list. Shivering Timbers. Ridden this a few times over the years, still held up really well. Man, that is some crazy airtime. Like just thinking back, like I'm really anxious to ride it again, probably next year. Just crazy airtime. It's in the middle of nowhere, but man, just nonstop airtime there. And then Rampage, that's another one with if you in the middle of nowhere with great airtime. Get yourself out to Alabama if you haven't been. To round it out, something you might not expect, Thunderbolt at Kennywood. Again, I think it's just really unique. You drop out of the station, super smooth. The NAD Century Flyer trains are awesome, which I think are really neat. Just a really cool, different ride that I just love. Get on, just come off like laughing, smiling, with great airtime. So that gets my vote there. Let's move over to the Steel List. And I mean, come on. I'm not even going to explain number one here. You know what it is. You know why it's number one. Let me select it here and we'll just move on. All right, get those keyboards ready. You're going to want to kill me in the comments for this one. But Millennium Force is number two. I mean, to be honest, um, I think a couple of the in the loop guys agree with me. I'm not going to call them out, so you don't tear them apart in the comments either. But man, this year the ride, I've been riding that since 2000 every year, 10, 15 times every year, and this year has just been it's faster. It feels like smoother, more out of control. And I know I'm going to get a lot of hate for this one, but that setting on the water, just the epic largeness of it, and just the pure fun. It's one of my all-time favorites. I mean, I've been following that from before they announced it. Remember rumors on Screamscape, so I'm probably a little biased there, but to me, it's just one of the best overall fun coasters. Another RMC to make the list, Twisted Colossus. I know a lot of you knock it for the middle of the ride kind of pause with going up the second lift. I love it. I love rides that are like super long. I think it's just really fun, especially when you're dueling. I know, doesn't duel often, but I've been fortunate to get a couple double duels. If you try to show up first thing in the morning, head to that ride first. Usually better shot then. It's just a really cool experience when you're dueling. So that that's been at my top of my list up until this year when Steel Vengeance knocked it down a little bit, and I got a little bit more love for the Force. Surprise, surprise, another RMC on the list. I love Iron Rattler. Rode in the front was like, eh. Rode in the back, loved it. Again, Corey Walls, really cool, great first drop. Um, just a fun ride overall. Now we go international. and Expedition G-Force, uh, not Everest, G-Force. It lives up to the hype. Let me tell you, it's a great. It's like what a lot of people I think wish Millennium Force was, with a lot more airtime. I still like Millennium Force better, but it's a really great ride overall. All right, Goliath at Over Georgia. Not a huge B&M hyper fan. Let me rephrase that. I love B&M hypers. I don't think many are top tier rides except Goliath at Over Georgia. I think that is just, I don't know what's different about it, but man, the airtime there is fantastic. Really enjoy that ride. And then Phantom's Revenge, again, a unique ride. Not a lot of people talk about, but man, the airtime on those last like couple bunny hills, crazy. Plus diving through the structure, and again, I like different rides. I like unique rides, and that's kind of what's driving a lot of this. And then for the last few here, I kind of did these out of order because kind of a last minute game time decision here. So it's kind of like working backwards of like, what route do I go? So um, to me, Magnum XL 200 still a great ride. You ride it in first car, row three, the ejector seat. There's no other ride that provides that kind of airtime that many times, and setting on the beach, just awesome. And then Mindbender in Canada. All right, here's another one that probably not everyone agrees on, at least internally here on In the Loop. If you watch the review, Legend and Drew, like I said earlier, don't like Mindbender in Canada. But I loved it. I thought it was much better than the Olympia looping coaster that everyone loves to hype up. Just crazy that's inside. I mean, I've never been so scared on a coaster as going up that first hill, like just where you're like, oh my, what does that drop do? And you're up in the ceiling. So that gets my vote for there. And then Sky Rush. If you haven't heard, I like Magnum. I like some of these other ones with crazy airtime, and Sky Rush delivers. So that definitely has to make my list there. So I know we're about like 17 minutes into this, and it's not been the most. You've just kind of seen a online form the whole time, but I hope you enjoyed it. Like I said, YouTube comments are, most people tell me it's to tell people how wrong they are. So tell me how wrong I am. But if you're going to tell me how wrong I am, you gotta tell me your top 10 list. So share that, and let's hear what you have to say.